Hello, lovers. I am so blessed and honored to be in a position to share, tools and tips and tricks that have the potential to heal and to bring you to a place of full sexual embodiment. And one of the tools that I absolutely love and have been using for the better part of a decade are crystal yoni products, including pleasure wands and yoni eggs. And I was so excited to recently come across a brand called Wands, Wands. I met the founder here in Austin and I absolutely loved who she was. I love getting to know the people behind the products that I like to use. And I just loved her mission to really support women and men to explore, celebrate, and honor their sexuality. I felt this transmission of slow, sensual seduction in all of who she was and all that she brought to the world. So I went ahead and gave it a try. I purchased a blue quartz Emerita wand, and the Emerita wand is great because it has this like cool bulby end on it, which is designed for G-spot and cervical stimulation, but can also be used for prostate stimulation. So it's great for men and women and can even be used between partners. So I'm so honored to have built this relationship with her and to be able to offer you guys an amazing discount code. So if you use the code LEOLA, LEOLA, that will give you 15% off all products. And the website is wands.com, WAANDS.com. And we'll go ahead and link that in the show notes as well for you. So thank you so much for listening. And also you're welcome for the inevitable pleasure and healing and ecstasy that is coming your way with these products. Let's dive into the episode. Welcome to Talk Tantra to me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. I am coming in with part 2 of a Q&A with Andrew, my husband. On Instagram, I asked my listeners to submit questions for Andrew and I to answer. This was our first time doing a Q&A together, and it was so juicy, and we got so many amazing questions. And of course, it being Andrew and I, we love to talk. We had so many things to say about each question that the original episode was super duper long. So we decided to split it into 2 episodes. So this is actually part 2 of this Q&A. If you haven't already listened to part 1, scroll back a couple of episodes with Andrew and you'll see the part 1 and enjoy part 2. Here we go. We've got a whole new set of questions. Let's continue. Plant medicines and impact on self-growth.
That sounded like more of a statement than a question.
So I mean,
I get it.
A lot of these are just like, can you expand on this topic?
Sure.
So
I am by no means a plant medicine expert. I will speak from my perspective and bias. I think that lots of folks have had wonderful experiences, life-altering experiences. Folks recovering from addiction and depression and all sorts of ailments. And by all means, if that works for you, fantastic. For me, my problem was using things outside of myself to fix something that was actually internal. Mm-hmm. And it was using a substance to patch or heal what was a spiritual malady. And so that's the path I took. The plant medicine path is not bad or wrong or right. If it works for you, fantastic, dive in. What I see more often than not is it being a substitute for actual real growth. And what I don't see a lot of is integrating. So someone has this journey and then they have all of these revelations. And then I see limited to no integration into their actual life.
Yep.
And then I see them hopping from ceremony to ceremony to ceremony to ceremony. And in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about self-knowledge is not enough. It is insufficient. And it's so fucking true. And I see a lot of folks that get a ton of self-knowledge from taking mushrooms and very little follow-up. Now, that's not to say that it can't work for somebody. If it works for you, awesome. I would ask, what am I hoping that these mushrooms will provide me? And I'm pretty sure that's within you to provide for yourself.
And drugs are fun.
And drugs are also super fun. So,
I mean, yeah. So I don't do a lot of drugs or plant medicines. Probably, I guess, more than the average person, but definitely way less than the average person in Austin or the average in the spiritual
in the circles
community.
that we run in. Yeah.
I definitely fall on like, I don't do very much. I have a whole episode about this as well, and it's called Conscious Consumption. And I think at the end of the day, coming from a tantric perspective, it's all about intention. So Andrew had spoken into this. If you're running away from your problems, if you're a repeat offender at ceremony after ceremony after ceremony, then it's something to maybe consider. Where is the integration? Where is it not? But overall, I think that plant medicine is incredible and can be incredible. I literally like, it changed my life. It's healed so many parts of me, specifically mushrooms. It has really nudged me into this work. I did a ceremony that actually told me to pursue this work professionally when I was kind of thinking about it or thinking about going down a different path. And so I absolutely love it. And there's a shadow side as there is with everything else.
Yep, as with everything. Short anecdote. So my dad invited me to Peru for a 2-week-long ayahuasca retreat. This was like 10 years ago. And it was maybe a little bit longer. And I go, and it was like the third night in the third ritual of ayahuasca. And the medicine told me and communicated, and it was like kind of like making fun of me. And it was like, why are you in Peru in the jungle in this hut consuming me for some spiritual quest? Just go back home and do what you're doing.
Yep.
And that was the information that I received. I'm going to repeat myself here. And so that's not a prescription for anyone else to do or not do it, or to use plant medicine or not use plant medicine. But to be completely upfront with my own bias, I think most of what can be accomplished can be done without the use of substances.
Yeah. So even at our retreats, we ask people to completely abstain from any plant medicine, and even ask for people to abstain from any, other mind altering substances that, like coffee, even, like to limit that, and to be conscious of the other plants that you're consuming or the other substances, because Tantra is really about connecting to the turn on within yourself. Pleasure is an altered state of consciousness. It does similar things that a lot of these medicines do, but it exists within us. So how can we get connected to that so that we're not just seeking it outside of ourselves? How can we tap into that turn on our own?
Bingo.
So that's that. All right, let's continue. You're going to love this statement. On being freshly single. Expanding on being freshly single. No question, just a statement.
Yeah. So here's a line that I really like. Assuming that you want to be in a committed partnership, which is what I'm guessing is in the context of that statement. I am the furthest away I could possibly be from being in the relationship that I want to be in when I am currently in one that is not going to work. That is the furthest away. Mm-hmm. So being freshly single, congratulations, you are now one step closer to being in the relationship that you actually want to be in. Now,
because being in a relationship that you don't want to be in
is
the furthest away.
Literally the furthest away.
Or just being in a relationship that's clearly not your person. Maybe you do want to be in a relationship with them, but it's obvious that it's not a fit long term.
Yeah, however you want to phrase it. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. That's the furthest away I'm going to be.
Yep.
So being freshly single is one step, and one gigantic step better and out of and towards the place that I want to be. Now, that can be of little solace when I'm feeling lonely and I'm sad in my bed alone eating Ben & Jerry's with my little Yankee Candle, wishing that I could just have the sweet touch of another human being to just bring and clear the darkness from this lonely, lonely world. Totally get it. And if it works for you, try it out. If not, yeah, being single is hard. It sucks. Being with someone you love is amazing. So
it's the best thing ever.
It is better than being single. I'm sorry, it is. If for me, being with someone you love and your life partner is 10 billion times better than being single. Period. Full stop.
It's the best.
I feel like there's a lot of platitudes of like to help single folks feel better, and there's nothing wrong, like morally wrong, with being single. I was single for a very long time, but being in committed partnership is so much better.
We love it. It's not for everyone, but we really love it.
It's so much fucking better in almost every way.
Yep, and in some ways, it's harder as well.
Yeah, like I sleep better alone. That's harder for me. But it also means
waking up next to that cute face.
Your face is actually adorable when in the mornings. And it also depends on what you mean by harder. It's like, is being with a partner who is my mirror to like all the shit that I get to work on in my life harder? Yes. Would I not want that? No, of course I fucking want that. Iron sharpens fucking iron. I want to be better.
Yeah.
And being with this human helps make me a better human.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always easy. I don't want an quote unquote easy life. I want an easeful life, but I want to be at like the edge of my comfort zone.
Pushing that edge.
Fairly regularly.
Yeah. So that question was related to another one. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this one in. I'm completely just picking questions out of order, but where were you both at in life to be able to attract each other? And if you don't mind, I'll start this off and then let you get to it. Are you comfortable there? The mic's like really close to your mouth.
I'm very comfortable.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried about like deep throating the mic, breathing into it really loudly, creeping out our listeners. Anyways, so where were you both at in life to be able to attract each other? So to me, when you're newly single, it can be very tempting to immediately want to rush off into the next relationship because being in partnership feels good. However, I think that like what worked really well for me, and I think what prepared me for a partnership with Andrew, was that I took that time when I was newly single. And to be clear, the person that I was with before Andrew, the relationship I was in that was longer before him, I like was fairly convinced that we were going to get married. And I'm really happy we didn't. But what I realized like when I got out of that relationship was like that fucking sucked. It really hurt to like have that vision die. So when I get into my next long-term relationship, I want to be really clear about what I want before I commit to someone. So I actually spent about 5 or 6 months just really like exploring different relating styles and like really getting clear that like family was what I wanted and life partnership was what I wanted. And that wasn't just some, conditioning of the feminine or like whatever. Like I spent a lot of time just getting super fucking clear, and also letting go of my attachment to what it was going to look like and just being open to the feeling of receiving him. And yeah, when Andrew came into my life, I wouldn't have guessed that he would be the person that I would end up with or the person that would check all my boxes or complete me. I don't really believe in that, but he did, and it's been great. And there's an episode called Manifesting Your Life Partner, part 1 and part 2, that goes deeper into what I did specifically to prepare.
I'm going to give a very masculine answer to this, and I'll probably ramble on for 7 minutes after that. But
great.
For men, either be dedicated on the path of figuring your financial shit out, or have that figured out and having that career, that business, whatever it is, on fucking lock, or the path to that thing on lock. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge one. And then 2 is vulnerability. And I mean that in the sense of not I'm crying whenever I see a tissue commercial. I can't remember the last time I saw a commercial, but whatever, you get what I'm saying. But vulnerability is, when I hear vulnerability, I hear the word courage. And that means, this goes back to asking for what you want. And how many men here don't talk to and approach and ask that beautiful woman across the room and start a conversation, and already push themselves out and disqualify them before they even talk to them. Mm-hmm. I have been that guy. I've been that guy more often than not. But there was a certain amount of emotion, like a vulnerability, that I had to develop to get past the bullshit filters with Leola. And it wasn't a combination of without a combination of those 2 things, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah, I love that really concrete example. So it's vulnerability and being like stable in life. Like,
you gotta have your fucking shit together. If you're a dude and you don't have your fucking shit together, yeah, you're not gonna attract the woman that you're capable of attracting.
And I will also second that for women as well. I've had several friends get into this position and I've been in this position actually in my early 20s, where I couldn't provide for myself, and I got into a relationship with someone that could help me provide for myself in a way, and I began to rely on it, and then I stayed in the relationship way past when I should have, because I was convinced that I couldn't take care of myself. And I think it's really important, not for women to provide for themselves for the sake of providing in themselves, but to have been through at least a season of life where they prove to themselves that they're capable of it, so that they don't get into that pattern of feeling like I have to stay in this relationship because the alternative is failure or, death or whatever the deeper down belief is if you can't, afford your life. So I think that for women, it's less about having all of your shit together and more of like proving to yourself that you can do it all alone, but you're choosing to do it with someone, and to even allow them to carry some of the weight potentially if you do decide to take more traditional feminine and masculine roles in your partnership.
What Leola doesn't know is that all of my career success is just a ruse. And I'm hitching my wagon to this Talk Tantra to Me rocket ship. I'm just going to start leeching off her in like 3 or 4 years. So, all right, sugar mama.
All right, baby.
We're going to be talking about husband Louis in a minute.
Okay. I'm here for it. Husband Rolexes.
I am fine with that. If you start making stupid money and just blow me out of the water, I'm fine with this. I'm okay with it.
I'm sure you are, baby. We'll get you that, husband Louis. All right, here's another one that's not a question, but something to expand upon, and that is spiritual experiences during sex. Anything come to you right away, or do you want me to?
I mean, I was going to be like, pretty much any sexual experience can be a spiritual experience, even if it's super shitty.
It's true.
And so that's kind of where my brain went with it, but I don't really think that's what they're getting at. I think they're like getting at like, oh my gosh, that was like I was on mushrooms when we were fucking kind of situations. And yeah, it's possible. It can happen. I wouldn't make it the goal.
I would agree with all of that. And I think that actually what opens the door to more spiritual experiences during sex is to just live a more spiritual life. And it naturally kind of happens organically. I also have, I know so much of my answers are like, listen to this podcast episode for more, but that's kind of the idea of the Q&A, is that you get a little taste of everything. And the beautiful thing is I have over 100 episodes to point you to if you feel called to go deeper in anything. But there is an episode called 4 Types of Sex. And 2 of the types I would consider particularly spiritual, but I loved what Andrew had said, that, you know, any sexual experience can be spiritual if you decide to look at it through that lens. Even if you have a sexual experience where your boundaries are crossed or something didn't feel good, you can use it as a mirror for the rest of your life. You know, where else aren't you upholding your boundaries, or where else are you tolerating things, or, you know, and that's just one micro example. Anything that could be happening in your sexual life that isn't feeling good could be a mirror for the rest of your life. And by that token, there's spiritual transformation available for you. I love our sex. It's been very spiritual and healing for me. I think that there's just something special about being with your life partner as well. It wasn't like this was the beginning of my spiritual sex, but my spiritual sex has deepened. We've done sex magic with our sex. We've called in beautiful things. I mean, we've experienced different types of orgasms, you know, seen each other differently in sexual experience. I mean, there's lots there, but it's available for you.
Question answered.
Done. All right, next one. Do you like to have public sex?
I used to. Not anymore. I don't. I think, and by public, I don't think they mean, I think they mean like in places you're not supposed to. And like you're in like a public restroom, or you're in like like on a balcony somewhere in an apartment building, or things, or in a car, things like that. Not in like in a play party in front of a bunch of people. In both of those kind of circumstances, I could take it or leave it at this point. When I was much younger, absolutely, anywhere. And yes, the taboo nature. I dated this doctor, and she really loved public stuff. I think she was like, I could lose everything if I was caught. I think that really really got it for her. Yeah. But no, yeah.
I'm going to throw another podcast episode out at the audience. It's a recent one. The 4 corners of eroticism, and public sex falls under violating prohibitions. And there's this, one of the things that is explored in the episode is like the combination of attraction plus obstacle. And so like something like public sex, like that's an obstacle, and to overcome it feels really like rewarding for our systems at times. I like sex, you know, and I like sex in private, and I like sex in public. I will take it where I can get it.
It's true. She's insatiable.
Andrew's not big on like PDA and things, and like that has been something that like it's even created a little bit of like activation of my rejection wound at times, when I'm like, I want to make out right here, right now. And that's not even like Andrew, it's not even just sex. It's like even making out, in front of people isn't something that you're like super called to do. No. But I definitely am. And so I honestly haven't really had the opportunity to explore public sex really with you. Although I feel like we've had moments where it's like, oh, we could be seen. Like, for example, on our balcony in Mexico on vacation, and a boat is going by. And I think that that's like yummy and arousing. And I definitely like that. But in my early 20s and teens, there was a lot of public sex that happened. Sex in like chapels, sex in public bathrooms, sex at my school and like the upper, you know, classroom areas, sex in a lifeguard stand on Miami Beach. It's getting me excited talking about it, but in theory, it's also, you realize it's hard to really be present for the pleasure in your body when you're having public sex, because you're so in your brain like, oh my God, is someone gonna see me? And so I've realized that it doesn't bring me very much pleasure in the end. So I don't love it as much. Like, I remember having sex in an airplane Mile High Club member here, and doing it in the economy bathroom, which is fucking
Gross.
tiny and gross. Super gross. And just being like, I don't want to touch anything. And like, I don't want to get like fucking kicked off this plane, you know, or like we're going to land in Paris and we're going to be detained. Like it's not a vibe. Like I would never do it again unless I was like staying in like first class with my own little like suite or something. So yeah, those are my thoughts. You have anything you want to add?
What was the phrase? Like the obstacle meets the attraction, and that's what makes it sexy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess for me, it's like there's no obstacle anymore. It's just like it. Yeah, we're kind of in public. Mm-hmm. I feel like it would be fine if we were caught, and whatever.
Oh my God.
We would make it work.
Tips for staying fully present with your partner and not going into the mind with methods when being the giver specifically. So when you're giving to someone sexually, what are some tips for staying fully present with your partner and not getting distracted going into the mind?
What'd you say? I'm fucking with you.
I've got an idea. Or do you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Get after it.
So one thing that I like to focus on when I am giving to my partner, first of all, if I'm in a more ritualistic setting or like ceremonial setting or, you know, sacred setting where I'm very clearly in the role of giver and the other person's in the role of receiver, I actually take a moment to just like ask God to work through me and to get out of my ego and to just like let my higher self move through me. And then another thing is considering that it is a gift to be with someone and for them to be sharing their body with you in this way that is so, so vulnerable, to just be receiving and to be in that knowingness of like, this is a gift. How can I make art with their body? How can I create a masterpiece in the way that I touch them? And really being in this, like, I'm the creator of their reality in this moment. I'm creating an experience for them, and what a beautiful gift this canvas that I have in front of me. And then lastly, another thing that I like to do is focus on the body part that I'm working on in the moment and consider what gifts that body part has given them. So for example, if I'm massaging their hands, I would think about, what have these hands created? Who have these hands touched? What have they felt? You know, things like that. Or, you know, their legs, like where have these legs taken them? What cock has this cock, what pussies has this cock entered and like chain, and you know, just that kind of frame of mind as well. Anything you want to add?
Well, and for fellas, if there's a fella in here who wants to know how to stay present, you know, I'm no expert in staying in the moment, but something that has worked for me. This will just create better sex in general, I think, is that, and this goes for all partners, but I feel like men in general kind of need this advice a bit more. And your partner's body and a woman's body is giving off so much information at any given time, a lot of which goes unnoticed when I'm not paying attention. And all the information you need on what they're, or almost all of the information you need on what they're desiring next, will be present in their body somewhere. Well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing is to know that and then start looking for cues. That's it. And then experimenting.
Yeah. And I think that also, if you are in that giving role, encouraging the receiver to be in expression, to use sound, breath, and movement, because those are key things for that communication as well. Yeah,
there have definitely been some folks that have been totally like, yeah, 100%. I've been that too, like just not responsive. It's very difficult to.
Yeah, they're probably in their mind as well.
And I would argue that that's also information for you. Right? And there's ways to tease that out.
Beautifully said. what are some baby steps that those of us in more traditional relationships can take to explore sexually?
I love this question, and it depends on what your goals are. So based on the context, baby steps, explore sexually. Like, I need to, like, for me to answer this question with any sort of proficiency, I need to know what the end goal is and where they want to go. And I actually also would push back on the content of the question, because it implies that I need to take baby steps to get to where I want to be. And I don't actually think that's the best strategy. So I'll give you an example. I would have not met the love of my life if I had taken baby steps into going to my first ever play party. I just had to jump the fuck. I was like, let me read some books on play parties first. Let me like watch some YouTube videos on how to attend your first play. By then it would have come and gone. And who knows the sequence of events that would have unfolded after that. It would have all been working for my good, yada, yada, yada. But no, I just dove right in and was willing to risk and kind of screw it up.
Yeah, and to give context, Andrew and I met at a sensual play experience that I was hosting or facilitating. It wasn't a full-out play party, but it was like just a step below that. And I think that I totally agree with Andrew on this. And because of the nature and the vulnerability of sexuality and the fact that pretty much all of us have sexual trauma, it's my belief, even if you didn't actually experience like a sexually traumatic event in your body, I think that our sex education in of itself can be traumatizing.
Just culturally.
Yeah. So it is important to really tread carefully into the spaces in a way. I've been, like I had a practitioner of Tantra who totally violated my boundaries and was totally out of integrity. And there are a lot of individuals in the space that are not like in integrity and, are harming people. And I don't say that to scare people away, but just to come into this space of trusting yourself, to get really clear and to move slowly and to recognize that you have all of the time in the world to explore. And one of the best things that like I can recommend for people that are exploring these spaces first is to get to know the people that are holding the space for you. If you're going to a play party or if you're working with someone professionally, don't necessarily jump right into working with a practitioner and getting naked the first time that you work with them. Like really take some time to talk about like what their practice is like. If you're going to a play party, maybe you're not going in with the intention to fuck someone. Maybe you're just going to watch the first time and really allowing the work to settle in your body before like there can be this energy of like, oh my God, I'm in this experience and I need to make the most of it. And that's actually scarcity. What if you realize that you can go to one play party and just witness and then the next time maybe push the edge a little bit more? Sometimes we learn our boundaries by accidentally crossing them, but there's also space to move really intentionally as well.
It's a both and.
Yeah.
In that one. I guess the essence of my response to that is like, why am I taking these baby steps? And what am I afraid of?
Yeah.
And if the fear is leading to an action that is not aligned with my conscience, then is that how I want to live my life?
Is that how you want to live your life? No.
I'm complete. One more question.
Let's make it a good one then.
It can be, you know what? Any question will be good.
I want to make it a good one though. We still have a lot left. This is one I definitely want to answer. My boyfriend doesn't go down on me because it causes throat cancer. In what are these called? Quotes.
Yeah, air quotes.
Air quotes. My boyfriend doesn't go down on me because, air quote, it causes throat cancer. How to respond and still get what I deserve, i.e. oral sex.
It sounds like You deserve a new boyfriend. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't. In what context am I? I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah. Where is the study?
Where's the going down on someone causes throat cancer?
That is preposterous.
Did you know that blowjobs cause AIDS? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think that this is really wild, and that's why I wanted to answer it. And I love that your immediate reaction was time to get a new boyfriend. And the ironic thing is that on a day-to-day basis, so many of us are consuming so many chemicals and things that are probably more likely to cause cancer than like a woman's pussy juices.
Why do I feel like the dude like who is saying this is like wearing a straight brimmed cap, like to the side, and also smokes a vape and drives like a Subaru Impreza with a gigantic spoiler on it and a vanity license plate?
Here's the thing. I think that like if you really feel like this is a relationship that you want to continue, he needs to be willing to have a real conversation about the actual statistics. And like, I would even be willing to like, be like, let's go talk to a doctor about this, because I've never, I think I remember hearing this in like high school and it being like obviously a joke. But this is pretty crazy. And I think that you do get to have what you deserve, which is oral sex, and oral sex is amazing and super delicious. But if he's committed to a false truth, is that someone that you want to invest your time in, is my question. And I think that, you know, there's honestly, this is a question that I feel a little crunchy about answering on a podcast, because like I really need more details and context and would love to get to know you and like get a feel for what beliefs you have that would keep you committed to this relationship as well.
I feel less crunchy about it. I'm just quick to judgment and feel no shame about it. Break up with your boyfriend. That's all the context I need.
And maybe there's an invitation as well. That you said still get what I deserve. Do you really feel you deserve it if you're staying in the relationship with someone that's committed to this falsehood?
If going down on you caused throat cancer and be like, well, looks like we need to find a good oncologist.
That's the bar we're setting for our men. They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is something that I really, really resonate with. And as I've invested in living a tantric lifestyle, my relationships have evolved and become so much more juicy and liberating. And I believe that this is something that everyone deserves. However, finding these people can be a little bit challenging at first. And so it is my mission to create more spaces for people to find individuals that are resonant with the tantric lifestyle, that are really resonant with you, the listener, the person who is investing their time into living a life that is expansive and liberating. So with that, I'm committed to creating more and more safe spaces for people to discover their desires and practice their boundaries, to connect in community, to celebrate and to grow together, so that we can all step into a more authentic version of ourselves and experience truly unconditional love. So we have Tantra retreats for men, women, couples, singles. We also have female-only retreats just for the ladies stepping into their divine feminine. We have play parties. We have Tantra workshops, Tantra yoga, women's circles. We've got all kinds of really powerful in-person events. You can find all the details at www.talktantratome.com/events. You can also just go to talktantratome.com and click the events tab to find out about all the latest and the greatest. And if you're wanting me all to yourself, I can't blame you. I also host private retreats for both individuals and couples. Those are one-on-one. You get me all to yourself. And I'm available for private Tantra workshops and performances. And this is great for events like your birthday or maybe a bachelorette party or bachelor weekend. We can talk and create something that will be extra special just for you. So I cannot wait to connect with you in real life. But for now, thanks so much for your patience with this brief interruption, and let's get back to the episode. Next question. How many times in a week do you have love, affection, and intimacy with your partner?
Love, affection, and intimacy. I'm going to go with, we have intimacy every single day. Mm-hmm. We have love every single day, and we have affection every single day. And now I think what you really want, like, I think the real heart of that is sexual. Like how many times do we have sex? And that's like max, I think, like 3 or 4 times a month of actual sex.
I would say we have sex like 4 to 5, maybe 6. I think it depends on the month. It also depends on like how you're counting it, what you're counting, like penis and vagina. Like I would have sex like almost every day. Andrew tends to be not as ravenous sexually, so we kind of end up with about once a week. We both self-pleasure though as well, and it'll also depend on where I'm at in my cycle. I tend to be more aggressive sexually the first couple of weeks, and then
it's like a feral cat.
Yeah, like in the week I'm ovulating, like I would have sex every day. So, and I think those weeks we typically have sex like at least twice that week. And then maybe we'll go after ovulate, we might go, 10 days without having sex, and it's normal.
But yeah, and then as far as affection, and then what was the other word?
The love and affection and intimacy.
Yeah, affection is one of like, that's like a non-negotiable. And I think that's both of how like we both communicate with each other. We're super physically affectionate with each other. I couldn't live in a world where I'm not waking up snuggled next to my wife more days, like almost every single day. Like I'm leaving for work for a work trip thing. I fucking hate it. I don't want to go. I don't want to leave her. And she's going away for a retreat as well. And so it's going to be like 9 days without touching my wife. And like, fuck that. I hate it.
But even when we're separate from each other, we connect with love and
nothing
intimacy.
Will replace the smell of your skin, the touch of your hair, and the look on your face when I wake up next to you.
Yeah. We're very intimately connected. We like spend a lot of time together, and intimacy is a big part of our lives. And sex is kind of one way we express that, but I wouldn't even say it's like the primary way.
Yeah. It's like the least interesting way.
I disagree. I think it's very interesting and I love it.
It's like,
but
maybe I'm saying it to be controversial.
I think you
are. Talk Tantra to me.
I think that you still find our sex very interesting.
Oh, baby. I'm not saying our sex isn't interesting. I think all the other aspects of our relationship, there's just so much there.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. That sex is like, while very fun and enjoyable, is like, it's not even close, honestly. I can't wait to see your pregnant belly.
That was random.
No, it's like it's like stuff like that though. It's like the small. It's for me anyway. Those small, tiny, like little details of you. It's so much bigger than sex is for me. Anyway,
I would agree, but we don't get that pregnant belly by having sex.
That's very true.
So.
Blowing loads.
Yeah, we get to have both. A lot of these actually I'm seeing are kind of questions that we've already answered by accident, but one person asked, how did we meet?
Yeah.
Yeah, we shared that we met at a sensual play experience. We didn't start dating though for a few months, and there's a lot more on all of that in High Vibe Relating Part 1 and Part 2. I don't understand that question.
What is it? I want to hear it.
Do you have sex in Tantra or other things?
Well, let's try and answer it. Let's try and answer what we think the essence of the question is.
Do you have sex in Tantra or other things?
So I think what the question is that do we have sex tantrically, and do we do other things tantrically? That's my guess.
I think that's a good guess.
And yes or no questions are not as fun to answer. But yes, and also no. We have sex not tantrically.
Well, I think that honestly, I feel like we do. I feel like we always have tantric sex, but it's like, what is your definition of Tantra? To me, the definition of Tantra is to be living a life of expansion and liberation, because that's literally what the word means from Sanskrit. And I think that all of our sex falls into that category in one way or another, because of the intention and the life, the way that we approach a life is tantric, and by that definition, everything becomes tantric. Like BDSM, I think that some people think like BDSM can't be tantric, or fast sex can't be tantric, or quickies or whatever, but they can all be tantric with the right intention.
I agree with that, and sometimes I think that we have unliberated and unexpansive sexual experiences.
Maybe you do. I don't.
Got him.
I don't. Not me. I'm perfect. I'm a perfect little tantric priestess. Are you a monogamous or poly couple?
Yeah, we answered this one a bunch. Yeah.
We kind of did, but we kind of didn't. Are we monogamous or are we poly? We're kind of both and neither, because we're monogamish. So yeah, poly is such a big word and can mean so many different things. And our version of poly is quite tame. I would say we don't have relationships with other people, but we do connect sensually and sexually with other people with each other's consent. But it's not something that we're doing very often. And our intention is for any connection outside of our connection to be net positive to the relationship, meaning it's bringing us closer together, or helping us learn more about ourselves or each other, which helps the relationship as well. And there's an episode of the podcast called Monogamish that kind of talks more about our relating style.
Yep. That sums it up.
Yep. Let's see.
Words are weird.
We're almost done. How did you get into Tantra work? Do you want to share how you got into it, and I'll share mine?
I got in it through meeting you, so that's pretty straightforward. Yours is a much longer story.
Yeah, that's true. So Andrew's first foray in the space was at the event that we spoke into that I was hosting. For me, their episode 100, I believe, of the podcast is all about how I became a Tantra practitioner. So definitely listen to that. But in essence, basically, I had a lot of sexual trauma. I also had very low self-worth. I also didn't fucking know what I was doing with my life. I was very contracted and shut down. And I discovered Tantra as a way to heal that. And it was amazing and liberating and expansive. And my whole life changed. And I started doing it professionally because I believed in it so much. And that's the short answer to a much longer journey.
It's a good answer, babe. That was succinct.
Yep. I'm just scrolling through here to see what we haven't answered. What was something that you both feared about your Tantra journey together that now feels like it flows so well and is just something you may love now?
Facilitating.
What about it?
So just, hosting the play parties and stuff like that. And it was they started with this kind of mild anxiety. It's like, are people actually going to show up? Like, is this actually a thing? It's like, are people going to have a good time? And yeah, now I just don't feel that anymore at all.
Yeah, and I think that we can actually say we both felt that way. I that wasn't where I was going, but I love that you said that, because that's true, and it's true for both of us. I think another thing that might have been complicated for both of us is like just speaking our desires and also honoring each other in our desires and our boundaries, and like figuring out like how we get what we both want. And I think that's a constant journey as our desires evolve as well. But it's become more natural, and I think more of like a fun game for us rather than a tension point. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm in my luteal phase of my menstrual cycle. I lose all my libido. Why? Do you know why that is?
I'll answer that one as the expert on the... No, go ahead, babe.
Yeah, so there are 4 stages of the menstrual cycle, and there's a beautiful episode called The Magic of the Menstrual Cycle on this podcast. It's amazing, and I highly recommend it for this question. But basically, there are 4 parts of the female menstrual cycle. There is the bleed, the menstruation, the follicular phase, which comes after the menstruation, is where the basically the egg is evolving to be dropped to potentially be impregnated. Then is ovulation, when the egg actually does drop and you have the potential to become pregnant. And then after ovulation is the luteal phase. And basically what happens is, as you build up to the ovulation, your feel good hormones of like serotonin and oxytocin and all of that stuff is like going up, and you're wanting that connection, and your body is like wanting to have sex because that's when it can make the baby. But after you ovulate, your body has no like reward for having sex. Like your body wants to procreate. That's what we're wired to do. So of course your libido goes down because there's no reward for having a baby during that time. So your body isn't signaling to itself to procreate, basically. So just something to be aware of. It doesn't make it bad or wrong that your libido goes down. There are things that you can do about it. And also it's okay. Mine does too. I had already mentioned that earlier in the episode, that after my ovulation, the last 2 weeks of my cycle, I'm far less interested in sex than the first 2.
So yeah, so men are basically just ovulating 24/7.
That's not necessarily true. So men are on a... You look a little...
I rolled my eyes a little bit on that one. Let me rephrase that. Well, because it's like, because you're mansplaining, like, my like men's experience here. Yes, is our testosterone higher in the morning than it is at nighttime? Yes. Is it a daily cycle? Yes. When you're a 13-year-old boy, are you horny every single minute of the day? And is that like, yeah, that's what the experience is like. So,
Thank you for the masculine perspective.
Anytime.
I think we're almost done. I think we're done.
What's it?
Oh, no, there's one more. Anal sex, is it more pleasurable, or is vaginal sex? Vaginal or anal sex? Which
Vaginal?
Vaginal. But it's a vagina, so why wouldn't it be vaginal? Why does it have to be vaginal? Like, why change the word? Just saying.
I don't know,
Just
babe.
putting it out there.
I don't know.
It's fine, but
I don't make up how things are pronounced.
Yeah. Which is more pleasurable for you, anal or vaginal?
As the man?
Yeah.
I mean, vaginal is like, I actually, I'm going to retrace that. It actually doesn't really matter for me as the guy. Like, it basically feels the same.
Really? It feels the same?
Almost feels identical. Like the guys that are like, I like it because it's tighter, kind of like, okay, sure, maybe. But it feels almost the same. It's just like sometimes there's poop smells with the anal sex, kind of a thing. And really what does it, or at least used to do it for me with anal sex, was, this is probably in one of your podcasts, so you might want to pin this one as well, is just the taboo nature of it. It's like, you're not supposed to. That's like oh no, that's like an even more coveted spot. And you don't want to, it's even more forbidden. And so to get access to that is like, oh man, and like that's kind of what did it. And then that also lost its like mystique, and now it's like just another source of potential pleasure, if your partner wants to do that or not. So they can take it or leave it.
But you originally said vaginal. Why did you go there first, out of curiosity?
Yeah, because vaginal doesn't have any of like the vagina is meant to be penetrated, and it has all sorts of biology to help support that, and the butthole isn't really designed for penetration. It can feel really, really good for the giver and the receiver. but it's not really designed for that. So there's a bunch of edge cases that need to be considered.
Yeah.
Namely, there being poop and poop smells. So
yeah. Also, like bacteria getting up into the pussy and
Yep.
creating all kinds of
stuff. I'm not trying to shy any away from
no.
anal. It's just like the taboo wore off for me, and it's like whatever.
Yeah, I actually just posted something about this today. There's lots of amazing things that come with like exploring the butt. There's so many beautiful little nerve endings back there.
Yep.
There's lots of power in working with your ass. There's lots of reclamation there. It's incredible. Highly recommend it. And also there's some things to be aware of.
I'd actually say there's a lot more available for men, especially straight men that are super like afraid of the butthole stuff on their end. There's actually a lot of juiciness there for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe I still haven't done an episode just about the prostate yet, but the prostate for men is so powerful. And thank you for bringing that in. That wasn't the question, but I love that you wrote that in. I will also say, like, for me, it's not like I'm going to get off, but from someone just going to my butt too, it's got to be like, I'm already a bit warmed up. I'm already turned on. I'm already aroused. Maybe even I've already penetrated myself in my pussy first, or I am penetrating myself in my pussy and now I'm going to incorporate some butt stuff. It's, to me, with the butt, it's about like the blending of different areas and then pairing that with like the butt.
That tracks for me too. I think there's a lot of work that can be done for men in that space.
Yeah.
And getting past shame. Actually, I'll just stop at shame. Actually, I think that's powerful enough. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor because there is so much pleasure that's available there. And it is like, where else in my life am I allowing my mental limitations or my shame or my fear, and it's blocking me from bliss?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't want to speak for all men here, so I won't, but I'll just share my experience. It's like growing up, there was a lot of shame around homosexuality and being gay. It was like the colloquialism at the time was just saying, quote unquote, that's gay for pretty much anything that you didn't like.
Yeah.
And the worst thing for a young boy to be was to be gay.
Yep.
Gay was a proxy for weak. And so it's really more than just hitting the prostate for a lot of men.
Mm-hmm.
It's busting through all of that nonsense.
Yeah.
And getting in touch with like who you really are and what you're afraid of.
Beautifully said.
So you can enjoy your prostate without being gay.
Because it feels good.
And just because it feels good.
They say it's like the female G-spot. Or sorry, the male G-spot is the prostate.
It does. It feels awesome.
It's made from the same tissue.
It feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm repeating myself here, but where else in my life am I limiting myself from pure bliss because of my shame and my fear?
Yep. It's a beautiful thing.
I challenge you to put something in your butt, men. This is right here, right now. If you're listening to this and you're driving, continue to drive and put something on your butt. This is a direct... No, all right, I'll stop.
I think that's a good place to end it on with this reclamation. So thank you for speaking into that, babe, with such good, juicy, masculine perspective. I love it.
I love you.
Alrighty. Well, I guess we're going to leave it at that today. Any final words from you, my love? I actually want to ask one more question that's on here. You're going to like this one, if it's okay. Can you trust me?
I trust you. I do trust you.
Okay. Do you feel blessed when you are with him? And that's it for today. I feel so blessed. I know myself to be the luckiest woman in the world. Not only is he the most handsome man I've ever seen in my entire life, not only is he an incredibly hard worker and successful provider for our family, but he is also full of heart and play and love. And he is down to grow with me. And out is not an option. And even when I'm a fucking twat, he manages. He manages me. So yes, I feel very blessed. I feel so blessed. So blessed.
Thank you, baby.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you, listeners. Not as much as Andrew, but I still love you. Thank you for tuning in and opening yourself up to sacred sexuality and porn, and I don't know what else did we talk about today.
Hentai, hey, go face.
Indeed. I'm like getting out of my flow.
Goodbyes are hard, babe.
Goodbyes are hard. Goodbyes are hard. Thank you guys again, and I'll catch you next week on Talk Tantra to Me.
Bye for now.
Ta-ta.